I want to be really clear about something. If you don't know when to say no in the private mortgage business, you have no business saying yes. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 red flags you should never ignore when evaluating a private mortgage application. Because in this business, saying no isn't negative, it's actually self-defense. I'm Chris Nichilo, the wealthy lender and the founder of Magnetic Capital Group. Since 2019, I've helped investors fund over $110 million in private mortgages secured against residential real estate across Ontario, and we haven't lost a penny. Not because I'm a genius, but because I know when to walk away. See, too many lenders get knocked out with the same 2 punches: impatience and greed. They drop their guard chasing yield, they take wild swings at shaky deals, and end up flat on the mat chasing the money they never should have lent in the first place. If you're swinging at everything, don't be surprised when you get hit. Here's the truth most people miss. Great investments do exist, but they're rare, and they're supposed to be. If every deal paid 12% with zero downside, everyone would be a great investor, and there'd be no art, no judgment, and no edge to it. So, if you expect every dollar to earn top returns 12 months of the year, you're not investing, you're deluding yourself. That mindset turns patient capital into reckless capital, and rushing to deploy is how good money goes bad. Smart lenders don't chase yield, they chase opportunities, and the reality is, most files shouldn't qualify, so the game is simple. See more, filter harder, and only fund quality. And with that in mind, let's talk about the 5 things that should make you seriously consider killing a deal. Okay, red flag number 1. The exit strategy doesn't exist. Now, there are only 2 ways out of a private mortgage. You can sell the property or you can refinance it, that's it. And if a borrower tells me that the exit is a sale, that's easy to work with. We can agree on a listing date, we can agree on a sales strategy, we can even write into the deal that if an offer comes in at a certain price, the borrower has to accept it. But if the exit's a refinance, that's where things get more complicated because now I have to project forward. I need to look at income, credit, debt ratios, and the entire profile to determine if a refinance with another lender is truly viable or whether it's just a pipe dream. And if the answer is a pipe dream, then the borrower needs to be aligned on a backup plan to sell. If the numbers don't work and the borrower still refuses to sell, that's a big red flag. And that's when we stop. Because if there's no viable exit and no agreement on what happens if a refinance fails, you're not lending, you're just hoping. And hope isn't an exit strategy. Understand this, if a borrower can't show you how they're going to pay you back in a way that makes sense to you, you're not issuing a loan, you're lighting a fuse. And I'd rather pass on a deal today than lose control of one tomorrow. Okay. Red flag number 2, the borrower's story doesn't hold up. Every deal starts with a story. Why the borrower needs the loan, what happened in the past, how they plan to move forward. That's all fine. But here's the rule. The story has to match the paperwork, the supporting documentation. If a borrower says they make $12,000 a month, but only $5,000 can be proven, we underwrite based on the $5,000. Not because we're rigid, but because we only lend on what we can verify. Same with credit. If they say the issues were caused by a divorce in 2022, but the bureau shows missed payments long before that, that's a red flag. But here's the beauty of private lending. We don't follow bank rules, we make our own. If we know the real story and we can verify the key facts, we can offer structure around issues the banks can't touch. That's how you create opportunity where others walk away, and that's how you get an edge without taking on blind risk. It all comes down to truth and transparency. We don't call people liars, we trust. Then we verify. And when the story doesn't match the evidence, we ask questions. And if it still doesn't add up, we walk. Red flag number 3. If it feels like you're the only one at the table, that's a big red flag. See, sometimes the red flag isn't what's said, it's what's missing. You look at a deal, something feels off. There's no sign of competition, no mention of other offers. The broker seems a little too eager, the borrower a little too agreeable. That's your cue to pause and ask the question outright. Are there any other offers from any other lenders? Because when you're the only one at the table, one of 2 things is probably true. The deal's been around the block and nobody else would fund it, or they think you'll give them something they can't get anywhere else, and probably shouldn't. Either way, that feeling in your gut, you should pay attention to it, because that's when you switch gears from trying to win a competitive deal to asking, how do I structure this in a way that no one else could and price it accordingly? That's the opportunity. To solve a problem no one else could solve and get paid a premium for doing it. But you only get there by recognizing what the absence of competition really means. Because when nobody else is bidding, it's either a trap or a window. Your job is to figure out which one. Okay, red flag number 4. You're trying to make the numbers work. This happens every so often, and it's subtle because it starts with good intentions. You want to fund a deal. You want to help. You want to get your capital working. So you start bending. You stretch the value a little. You assume a little higher income. You plug in numbers the borrower meant to provide, but didn't. And just like that, you're not evaluating the deal in front of you anymore. You're inventing one that doesn't exist. And that's where the danger is, because on the other side of that line is impatience. And when impatience sets in, you'll start seeing opportunity where there isn't any. So here's the rule. Only evaluate what's actually provided, nothing more. Take the borrower's documents at face value. Don't fix the gaps. Don't fill in the blanks. Don't round up the numbers to make the deal pass. If something's missing and assumptions have to be made, make the most conservative assumption possible. And if the borrower doesn't like it, let them know. That's the cost of not giving me something I can rely on. It is what it is. Your job isn't to make the deal work. Your job is to see if it already does, okay? And red flag number 5, you're being rushed without clarity. Borrowers always want the money yesterday. That's normal. But needing it yesterday, that's different and rare. True urgency, like a purchase closing with cascading consequences, is real. But you'll know that up front. It'll be documented. Timelines will be clear. Everyone will be aligned from day one. But when urgency suddenly appears halfway through the process, when a borrower or broker or a lawyer starts pressing you just to get it funded before everything's in order, that's a red flag. Because here's the truth. Smart lending takes time, and it's in everyone's best interest to follow a clean, thorough process that protects all parties. When a borrower tries to rush that, when they show no interest in protocol or paperwork, it's usually because there's something they don't want you to see, and it's rarely something good. I've learned this, that when I feel rushed, I'm usually being distracted from something I should be looking at more closely. So here's the bottom line. Speed and clarity can coexist, but when one shows up without the other, walk. Because fast money may feel good in the moment, but when it goes wrong, it's the most expensive money you'll ever lend. If those 5 red flags hit home, good. That means your instincts are working. And if you're done learning the hard way, chasing bad deals, second-guessing your decisions, or getting blindsided by problems you should have seen coming, then it's time to level up. Inside the Wealthy Lender's Brain, my free school community, you'll learn how to vet borrowers with precision, structure deals that protect your capital, avoid emotional lending, and build a portfolio that you don't have to babysit. We've got weekly live Q&As, real deal breakdowns, and a growing community of private lenders who take this stuff pretty seriously. No fluff, no ego, just real talk and real results. So click the link in the description below and come join us. Now here's the part most people overlook. Saying no doesn't just protect your money, it builds your reputation. When brokers know you have high standards, they stop sending you garbage files and they start sending you the good stuff first. Because they don't want to waste time and they know you won't waste theirs. See, when borrowers experience structure and professionalism, they also treat you and your money with more respect. They know you're not running a hobby, you're running a business. And that positioning, that's where better deals, faster closings, and repeat borrowers come from. Let me give you a real world example. A broker once sent me a deal on $1 million property. They were asking for $800,000, 80% LTV. And it was dressed up nicely, clean package, glossy photos, decent equity on paper. But when I looked under the hood, the borrower had a 520 credit score, no verifiable income, no realistic exit, just a vague, I'll refinance with TD in 6 months. Now I asked for documents, they kind of stalled. I asked for their refinance plan, and they kind of dodged. And when I passed, the broker pushed back saying, come on, Chris, someone's gonna do it. And I said, yes, that's fine, it just won't be me. And 2 months later, default. The borrower didn't actually make a single payment. The property value had dropped. The new lender was stuck with legal fees, taxes, and a long road to recovery. I'm not sure how it ended, but here's the kicker. That same broker came back to me 6 months later with a completely different file. Why? Because I said no the first time, and that no earned me credibility. That no made them trust my yes. So let me give you one more quick contrast. Years ago, I took on a deal that I didn't feel quite right about. The math worked, but the borrower's story kept shifting. They said their business had bounced back, but they couldn't show consistent deposits. The exit plan was vague at best. And the broker kept saying, don't worry, I know them, they're good for it. Now, against my better judgment, I went forward. And I spent the next 14 months chasing payments, arguing with lawyers, and losing sleep over a deal I should have walked away from in the first place. That's what my gut had said. That file cost me more in time, stress, and opportunity than I ever made in interest or fees. I didn't just lose money, I lost focus. So, what's the takeaway? Saying no is not a weakness, it's a business strategy. It keeps your standards high, your calendar clear, and your capital safe. So, let me leave you with this recap, because I need you to burn it into your playbook. The 5 scenarios that should automatically kill a deal: no clear exit strategy, inconsistent borrower story, you're the only one willing to lend, you're twisting the numbers to justify it, or you're being rushed to close without clarity. Now, you see only one of those? Maybe just take a pause. See 2, start walking. But see 3 or more, you gotta run. Because there's no bonus for saying yes to every deal, but there's a huge reward, financial and reputational, for being the lender who only says yes to the right ones. So, thanks for watching this video. If it helped sharpen your judgment, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below with your personal no-go deal breakers. And remember, saying yes makes you money, but saying no, that's what makes you wise. Till next time, stay sharp, stay structured, and happy lending.